Manufacturing activity in South Africa fell more than expected last month to its lowest level since July 2011. The Kagiso Purchasing Managers Index, which gauges the health of manufacturing sector, fell by just under 3 points to 47.4 in April. The significant indices such as new sales orders and the employment index also drops. Analysts had expected the PMI to remain above the 50 mark, which would indicate expansion, but it's now back into contraction territory. Well, Coetzee, Managing Director of CIPS Africa, which puts the survey together, joins me now. Andre, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
All right, so we take a look at the numbers. I suppose the first question I'd like to sort of put forward to you is that manufacturing activity is now the lowest in almost 3 years. Is it a matter of the numbers, perhaps the April holidays we've seen last month, or is activity really slow on the ground?
Well, I think activity is really slow on the ground, but if you look at the April numbers and the number that we release, it's seasonally adjusted. So every April we've got these holidays. So although it's got an impact, but most of it is stripped out because of it's a seasonally adjusted number. Mm-hmm. So I would say it's not so much the April holidays rather than other underlying factors influencing the manufacturing sector.
Oh, and we're looking at the graph at the moment. It has reached its lowest level since 2011.
Yes.
Is that significant when you just look back?
I think it's very significant, and you've alluded to the fact that 50 is the magical number, so any number above 50 is indicative of an expansion and below 50 of a contraction of the manufacturing sector. And why I think it's so important that if you look at it, that the manufacturing sector is the second largest sector in the South African economy. Mm-hmm. Now, if that sector is under pressure, it does not bode well for overall economic growth going forward.
All right, well, we're watching the story on mine worker union AMCU here threatening to shut down the entire mining industry if it doesn't get its way or if workers are retrenched. How is the platinum strike related or in any way connected to what's happening in manufacturing at the moment?
It definitely has a big impact on the manufacturing sector, especially if you look at the strong link between manufacturing and the mining sector. So you can already see in these numbers that the effect of the strike is sort of filtering through to the manufacturing sector. And if we don't resolve this issue, it's going to just drag this manufacturing sector deeper into contraction territory, which again is not good for the South African economy.
All right, so one of the indices in this latest PMI release, new sales orders shedding a 3.1 index points. That's a vast amount, meaning that manufacturers are receiving fewer orders. Why is that?
Well, I think, if there's just a slowdown in the demand for manufactured goods, especially if you look at a lot of these manufacturers, again, coming back to the mining sector or the platinum strike, unfortunately, so if there's a shutdown in production, it's quite obvious that the demand for manufactured goods into the mining sector will definitely slow down. And then I think also, if you look at the consumer, on the other hand of the spectrum, South African consumer are under a bit of pressure at the moment. If you look at least we get a bit of a reprieve in terms of the petrol. But if you look at all the other administered prices, the South African consumer is under pressure. So from that side, also not great demand for manufactured goods.
Well, we saw the unemployment or labour force survey giving us some job numbers today, earlier this morning, 25.2%. That's the new number for unemployment. Now, when you look at the PMI and you look at the employment index, that's dropped too, so which means at the moment there's no remedy coming from the manufacturing sector.
No, unfortunately not. This is such unfortunate circumstances, because if you look at the manufacturing sector, this is really a sector that can add a lot of jobs into the South African economy. Just to give you an example, on the way here I listened to a technology company out of Boksburg going to manufacture a South African smartphone. They're employing 300 people, and that just shows you one good news story actually employing 300 people. So this is the sector that we need to get right for it to bolster job creation in South Africa.
All right, very quickly, Andre, looking forward, we look at the expected business conditions index. How are managers forecasting the coming months?
Well, if you look at that sub-index, actually not too bad. It's just sitting above 54, so which is not bad. But there's another underlying indicator in the PMI, and that's a leading indicator, and that's a ratio between inventory and new sales orders, and that unfortunately is still showing that we can expect more bad news in the manufacturing sector going forward.
Well, we're going to have to leave it there. Andre Coetzee, Managing Director of CIPS Africa, thanks indeed for coming in.
Thank you.